People come from all walks of life. They all have lives they lead. Any and all are welcome here to come and chat with me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My guest today is from Montreal, Quebec, formerly, but she now lives out here in BC. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to meet Cindy Reinhold. Hello, Cindy.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
So, off camera, before we were recording, you were just telling me about your name and your sister's name. Tell everybody about.
That's right. Okay, so my uncles all worked for the railroads. I had one uncle that worked for CPR and one that worked for CNR. So my initials are CNR, Cindy Nancy Reinhold, and my sister is Carol Patricia Reinhold for CPR. So we're named after the railways.
That is so funny.
My mother, we can't say my mother didn't have an imagination.
I love it. That is so awesome. I love it. Now, I know that you were a substance abuse counselor, right? But you're retired now,
That's
is that
right.
correct?
I retired in May 31st.
Oh, just this year.
Kind of getting used to it just this year, yeah. Well, what happened was the group home that I was working at got closed down because of COVID. The ministry did not renew our license. The one girl that was left at the house died in a car accident in Chilliwack, actually,
my
to think of it. And so we had nobody in the house and we couldn't bring any more people in because of COVID. So I got retired a year earlier than I should have been, but I'm getting used to it. I'm kind of liking it now.
All right, good.
You know, yeah. It was hard at first.
I bet, yeah. Especially because it's not something you had planned, right?
That's right, yeah. I was supposed to go on a cruise to Europe. We had it all planned and paid for 2019. And of course, COVID hit. So we just ended up canceling the whole thing. It was too much up in the air, too much going on, you know, so
many things changed for so many people, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
So now, as I mentioned, you're from Montreal originally, right?
Yeah, born and raised.
Where in Montreal?
I was born in the east end of Montreal around Rosemount.
Yeah. And
I was raised in Pointe-aux-Trembles, Montreal East, right on the cusp around First Avenue and Marion Street. Then I moved to NDG because I was in foster care. And then I got back with my natural mother. So I lived in NDG and then I got married and I moved to the West Island and I came out to BC for my niece's wedding. I fell in love with it. And I said, when my kids leave home, here's your coat. Get the hell out. So I can move to BC because I like it there. The weather was perfect. It was just perfect, you know,
especially
cool in the summer at night. Yeah. Pardon me?
Especially compared to Montreal.
Oh, yeah. Well, I went to Montreal in July. I was there in July and I didn't find it as hot as I found it hotter out here.
Right.
Like the weather has changed drastically. So definitely something going on with our weather for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I grew up in Montreal. I'm from New Brunswick originally, but I grew up in Montreal. Yeah. Now I'm just kind of curious because you know my sister Marie, and it's on Facebook, and you also know my great niece Tara. So I can't remember.
Yeah, and Kathy.
Oh, my niece
Kathy was my best friend. Yeah, so that's how I know Tara.
Okay, so that's why your name is familiar. I couldn't.
Yeah, I used to work for her mom. I used to work at the old folks home. I used to bathe the women and cut their nails and help them with the feeding and all that. So that's how I know your sister.
Okay, yeah, Cindy's talking about my sister Alfreda. She had a home for seniors. And and Kathy worked there, and obviously she hired you as well.
That's right. Yeah.
At different times. I know there was different people.
Times. For sure.
Because I was trying to think.
Kathy and I worked together. Sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Kathy and I worked together. I don't know if you remember. Did you know much about the West Island?
Well, I lived on the West Island.
Oh, did you? Okay. So Boulevard de Source, there was a country and Western bar. I can't remember what the name was, but Kathy and I worked there for a couple of years. Oh my goodness, we had so much fun. Made a whole lot of money.
That's good.
Yeah.
You're talking about tips, I would assume, right?
Yeah, that absolutely, because the salary was nothing to,
Yeah.
It was all about the tips. Yeah, we had a blast. We had so much fun.
So now, did you get substance training when you moved out here, or did you get that done in Montreal?
Yeah. No, I came out here. I actually went through recovery myself.
Oh,
I had a drug addiction problem, and I went to detox, and then I was 9 months in a recovery house. And then I went to school. I went back to VCC, and I got my certificate for substance abuse counseling. And I worked at Westminster House for a couple of years. And then I moved on to the group home with the Indigenous youth who were either pregnant or had a child and were homeless. So they would come and stay with us. And yeah, it was eye-opening for sure. I saw a whole side of the Indigenous people and what they have had to put up with.
Yeah.
I've lived in Canada all my life, and this year was the first year that I honestly could say I feel shame to be a Canadian.
Yeah.
Because of everything that has gone on, and our chief there, Trudeau. Let's not get on to him.
No, let's not.
He's just so arrogant that it's not even worth mentioning him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very eye-opening and sad, the suffering that we put on these people. They're human beings. They were here first. First of all, they were here first. They have every right to everything that Canada has to offer without having to fight for it like they do,
Yeah.
It was very sad. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything you're saying. Absolutely everything, and I've just been told recently that Chilliwack's surrounded by reserves. And apparently there's a lot of prejudice here in Chilliwack. That's what I've been told by somebody who is First Nations, right? And their question is, then why move here? If you don't like us, why are you moving here? We'll move somewhere where there are not as many Indigenous people or First Nations people.
There you go.
It makes no sense, right?
Yeah. There's
and
lots of neighborhoods in Vancouver.
Yeah.
There's no reason to put yourself there.
No.
I just saw the news yesterday about a First Nations lady that died and how they treated her.
Yeah.
They could have saved her and she died because they were so prejudiced. That's terrible. How can my brain just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. You. I can't. Yeah. I'm sure most of us feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
You've got the odd ball there that,
well, it might be not, it's more than the oddball, I think, from what I've been told, I hear that, sometimes they go to a store or into a store and they're not served, right? And yet somebody will come in and they'll get served immediately, or the way they're treated in restaurants, and it's just my thought on this is, I don't know how we got on this topic, but if we as white people see a wrong being done in front of us, it's up to us to speak up. Because if we're not part of the solution,
correct it. Yeah.
Definitely part of the problem.
We're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone who knows me knows that if I see something like that, and I did, and just recently, as last year at West Columbia Hospital, there was a man, he was a brown man. I don't know if he was First Nations or East Indian, but he was not white. And he was bleeding profusely from a cut he had done at work. And he wanted to know how long he had to wait to see somebody. And they wouldn't answer his question. That's all they had to say was, I don't know. We'll get you as soon as possible. But they just started yelling at him to sit down and be quiet.
Wow.
And then he sat down and he went back, and then they called this orderly out, and this big guy, and we were in COVID, and he didn't have a mask on, and he was nose to nose with this poor man, screaming in his face for him to sit down. And I said, there's no reason for that. The man just wants to know, he has to go home and pick up his kids or something. He was saying about what he had to do and wanted to know how long. Just give him an estimate of how long, and then he'll go sit down. There's no reason for you to yell in his face. And put your mask on, by the way. We're in a COVID here, you know?
Yeah.
No, my grandson is the same way. If he sees somebody being picked on, or he'll stand up and go and straighten it out,
Yeah.
you know?
Good show.
Because, yeah.
So let's get back to the counseling again. What were some of the challenges, do you think? What were some of your greatest challenges as a counselor?
I think for me, it was coming to terms how I ended up in addiction.
Okay.
The reasons why I ended up there, because you have to take the course and to get out, you know, get your certificate and everything. You have to know a lot about yourself, what makes you tick, what triggers you, you know. And I really didn't know a lot about myself because I spent many years, you know, drowning out the feelings and hurt and pain that I had suffered in foster care.
Right.
I didn't really know who I was as a human being, and finding me was probably one of the hardest things that I did in that course. The other part to that is dealing with the suffering of these people who, for no reason, they didn't have to suffer like that. They didn't have to go through all that. They didn't have to go to residential schools and be killed and beaten and raped and tortured and starved, and, you know, like,
yeah.
I just
through no
see
fault
that,
of
to
their
hear
own.
their stories,
Yeah.
through no fault of their own.
Yeah.
That, like, a whole culture of people are suffering, and you know, like, we can't just close our eyes to that anymore. They're open. And anyone who insists or continues to say, well, it wasn't that bad, or, you know, well, get your head out of your butt. Can I say that?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. I don't, by the way, I don't censor anybody. You know, one of the things, the saddest thing for me was that I always knew about the abuse in some form or shape or whatever. I just never knew the extent of it, you know?
Well, you know what, Nancy? I actually thought it was a big exaggeration. It was the First Nations people saying, poor me, look at what we have to deal with. And, you know, so it was like, oh, you know, it can't be that bad. You know, this is Canada. We don't kill children in Canada, you know? It just didn't compute. And then when I got into this line of business, like I said, my eyes were opened, and the shame and the pain and the, you know, it all just was like, wow, like, this is unbelievable. That we here in Canada can do this, you know?
Yeah. And another thing for me is, like, I'm not surprised by the way nuns behaved, the cruelty, and nor am I surprised by priests being pedophiles. None of that surprises me, or anyone. I would say probably nobody in my family is surprised by that. That's the sad thing about that, is there were other people around them, workers, employees, who were doing nothing to stop it. That's another part of it, right? Yeah. Here we are talking right back to the same thing. It's hard not to talk about this, I know. And yet it's such
hard not to talk about, because it's a hard subject to discuss, because there's so emotions involved in it to everybody concerned. And I think every Canadian is touched by this. You know, you can't be a Canadian and live here and not be touched by that genocide that happened here, and probably still is for with all the missing women that are going on. Like, this is bigger than anybody thinks it is. You know, like, I think.
Yeah, the way I see it is like government and church sanctioned abuse.
Absolutely. The RCMP, the Liberal government, who was in charge at that time. And what does this guy do? He gives him and his federales a day off, and doesn't even bother to attend any of the reconciliation things that were going on. Like, no, that's not acceptable. No, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But,
you're with me there, you know. You're with me there. Again, it's, you know, I think you know that my aunt is First Nations, my Aunt Lucy.
Yes.
And I look at her and I think, how can anybody look at anyone who, with her skin tone, with her background, and hate her or be rude to her or whatever? I just, like you, I cannot wrap my head around it.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense.
I've always, my whole life, if I have a problem with somebody, I talk about it, I get my anger out, I say what I have to say, and then I move on.
Yeah.
That's it. It's over. The anger doesn't carry with me. It's done. I've said my piece. You've had your say. Let's go on now. Yeah. That's it. You know? Sure. Yeah. It's the only way.
Yeah. Yeah. Now let's change the topic again.
Yes, again.
Well, I'm just thinking about now that you're retired, are you thinking about things that you would like to get involved in? Or is there anything in the works?
I'm doing a lot of that. I'm just looking at different things. I go online and I do some Zoom education things all around. Right now, I'm with Dr. Gabor. He has a trauma-based Zoom meetings that he does. You have to pay for them, and I paid for them. So it's very interesting because they're bringing in now psychedelics to help people with trauma who have suffered trauma in their lives, like mescaline, magic mushrooms. They're just starting to use that, and they say it helps people. Yeah. That so I'm looking at maybe going back to school and just re-educating myself a little bit more around that. Mm-hmm. It's most interesting. Yeah. I don't know. For addiction, there's no easy answer. There's no one Band-Aid to put on it all, you know?
Yeah.
Especially with the other pandemic that we have right now, which is the
oh, I know what you're talking about, the drug.
Yeah. Anyway, I can't think of it now. Old age is getting to me.
Oh, tell me about it.
It'll pop in my head eventually.
Yeah, I have trouble pronouncing people's names, and it's like all kinds of things are happening, you know?
Oh, I know.
Dates and times. Terrible. I had to get somebody to help me with my show because, you know, I'd forget to mark it down when I book an interview, and I forget to mark it down. And it's like, oh my gosh. Or like, you know, we like to send out a reminder.
I hear you.
But that's just part of the aging process, a wonderful part for us. Anyway, so what about your children? Now I know they're adults, right?
Yeah.
Where are
they?
Both
of them are in addiction. When I went to Montreal, I saw my daughter for the first time in about 15 years. Oh, more than that. Yeah, 15 for sure, because my grandson is 15 now, so 16 years.
Right.
She's been out in addiction, and she was in prison for 2 years.
Right.
And she had just gotten out, so I went and saw her. We reconnected, and well, she's back inside. She went back out. She had a relapse, so she's back in prison again.
I don't know. Drugs?
Selling. Yeah.
I have a hard time with that. I know it's illegal. I get it. But she's selling because to use, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
So I don't understand why going to prison is how that's supposed to help. I don't get that part, you know, unless they're given.
It doesn't.
Unless they're given
help at all.
Yeah. Is she given any help when she's
there? There are prison meetings, but because of COVID, there was none. None. So they were just there.
Right.
Detoxing and you know, just going through it, right?
Yeah.
There was no meetings, there was no hooking up with a sponsor, there was none of that. So yeah. So you know, they set you up to fail, which she did. You know, her friend got her a good job. She had a place to live, you know, like she was doing really well, but because they didn't give her the tools and they just, you know, here you go, you're free, you know, and it doesn't work unless you do the work.
Work. Yeah, and you have to get a place to do the work. And again, with COVID has changed so much. People that should be getting help, well, some weren't able to get it before anyway, but now it's just worse.
Anyway,
right?
Yeah.
We always get into the sad. This is the saddest conversation, the saddest interview, right?
I know. All right, there are some good things that are like first of all, I'm raising my beautiful grandson, Lucius, and he is North American Indian.
Okay.
His father is Cree, I think, Sioux. I can't remember.
How old is he?
So he just turned 15 in June.
Right.
And he's in grade 10 now. And he's a good kid, a really good kid. He loves his Grammy. And he's got good friends, not hanging out here and there, they play their games, they're on their games, and they talk to each other over their headsets and stuff like that. So during COVID, they were still in contact and being able to do that. So that was good. I wish he was a little bit more scholastic, but he's not. He has some mental health issues, and it's a struggle for him every day to go to school, but we're doing it. We're getting him there. Yeah. So
some people have to take the scenic. Yeah. Some people have to take the scenic route. Is what I call it. A little bit slower, not not straightforward, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I was one of them, and my daughter was one. So it's that whole family. Yeah. Circle, right? It just continues and continues until somebody breaks it.
Yes, absolutely. So
I'm hoping this is the break that we need, that he's going to be the end of this cycle. Right. I believe it will be. He is totally against drugs. He hates people that do drugs. He's angry at his mother right now because she went back out and used.
Right. That's tough. Yeah.
That's tough for him, but he's so mature about it. For a 15-year-old, he's very mature about it. And he says, I understand that drugs, when you're addicted to drugs and you get off of them, there's a big chance you could go back to using them. He said, and I knew that right from the start. So I wasn't really surprised when Mom went back to using. He said, I'm mad a little bit, but he said, I'm not surprised. So he's very mature about these things.
Sounds good. Yeah. At least he's talking about it. And I think that's the important thing, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Keep the conversation going, and call me if you're in trouble. If you find something going on at school, just let me know. That's the good thing about cell phones. The only good thing about cell phones is that when you're in trouble, you can call somebody right away.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think with your knowledge and your background and connecting with him on that level is really, really beneficial to both of you, I imagine.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a joy every day getting up and seeing his beautiful face. And most it's difficult because most grandmoms, they spend time with their grandkids, they fill them up with chocolate and they send them all home. I can't do that. I have to be the mom, the pop, the grandma, so I have to balance my love and my discipline, and and that's difficult because I just want to be his grandmother, not have to discipline him, but it is what it is. So since we're doing okay. It's been 10 years now, so.
Oh, very good. Since you can't be giving him the chocolate, I'll always take your chocolate, I am a chocolate.
Well, if I had some, I would give you some.
Anyway, that's it. We're out of time. So just hang on.
Okay.
As well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed listening to Cindy's honesty. That's the thing I appreciated about this conversation. And we did go into some deeper topics, which wasn't planned, but that's the beauty of the show. Sometimes you just got to go wherever it takes you. So I hope you keep watching the show. And remember, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. That would be really nice. Take care, everybody. Peace out.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's a place to be, you'll see.